Okay, I think we can maybe start already. So welcome everybody to this new webinar for the PMS, and this webinar on data migration. Just a couple of comments because we before we start with the webinar itself. This is the agenda with the content that we are going to present today. We will have a welcome with few messages explaining you how can you raise your questions and a couple of comments more. Then we will go through some background concepts to give you a background of the webinar that we are and all the content that we are going to provide today. And then we will have like this big part of the webinar. We will be talking about the data migration from Article 57 and SIAMED into PMS. We will also explain you what we have released in this new Chapter 7 of the EUIG. Then we also give you some tips on where can you be updated with all the information that we are releasing, all the content, the webinars that we are going to have during this year, etc. And then we will have hopefully a fruitful Q&A session where we will be trying to solve all the questions that you have. And to finish with the meeting, we will have just a closing message from Veronica and from myself. So to start, please be aware that this meeting is going to be recorded. This recording then is going to be published on the EMA corporate website and also in our YouTube channel. So in case you have any doubt, you can always go back and check the content because we think it's really useful to have this information. So you can always go back and check the information that we are going to publish. In order to ask questions, as you may already know, we are using a Slido as the tool to provide you with a way to ask your questions, all the feedback that you want to provide to us. You can do it with a Slido. In order to do that, you can join in slido.com and use this code that we have here. So you can already start asking your questions. You can also rate the questions. So the ones that have more rate will be escalating in the ranking, and then we will be in the Q&A session, we will start replying to those questions. You can also use this QR code that you have here. So if you scan it with your mobile phone, you will be redirected to the Slido page where you can already, and I see already people starting to ask questions. So that's great. So after this introduction, let's start a bit with some background concepts. So we can then start with the real content on the data migration in PMS. So as you may already know, EMA is implementing this ISO IDMP standards. So these standards to be able to identify medicinal products. We have 5 different standards provided by ISO. We are not going to focus a lot on this part of the presentation because it's already known. We have had other webinars explaining this, but it's important for you to understand that this implementation of ISO IDMP, we are doing it in a stepwise approach, and in order to do that, EMA has already founded 4 different domains for master data. You already know this is a sport. We have 4 different domains. So we have one for substances, another one for product, which is PMS, and it's the topic of today. We also have the O for organizations where we manage all the organization information. And we also have RMS with all the referentials that are used in many different systems already in the network. We will publish all these slides. You also have links to the different websites where you can read more information about the sport, about IDMP, how we are implementing the different standards, etc. So if you have any questions, you can go back to those presentations and also to our webpage where we have all this information. The focus of today is PMS, and in this slide you can see the PMS data model. Maybe you are already familiar with it. It's a really big data model that we have. I think the last time we counted the number of fields, we were up to something like 200 fields in our data model. We have split the data model in different sections. So here in the legend, you can see in the color code that, for example, the yellow part of the data model is related to the medicinal product. The green part is for the marketing authorization information. We also have a section for manufacturers, therapeutic indication, the packaged medicinal product, pharmaceutical product, and we also have a section for the ingredients. As you can see here, each of those boxes contain different data fields. You can check all this information in our chapter 2 of the EUIG. And in this chapter 2 of the EUIG, we explain one by one each and every field that is part of the PMS data model. We give a description of the field, and we also give information about the repeatability, the conformance, the data type, the possible values that this field can have, and also information about the ISO path and the FIRE path for the implementation of this of PMS. Here we just have an example, for example, the ingredient role, where we have an explanation of what is this field about. Here we have that this role cannot be repeated. You can only provide it once. The conformance is mandatory. The data type is a codable concept, which means that you need to select a value from, and we give you the information of this specific RMS list. And then you have information about the ISO element, the ISO path, and also the FIRE path. So you can find all this information already in chapter 2. Is published in our in the PMS website. So we encourage you to go and check all this information that is already published. So we have PMS, which is one of the databases that we are releasing and developing and releasing. But we also have other databases at EMA and also used by the network. So one of the other databases that we have is SIAMED 2. This is our internal EMA's procedure management system that contains CAPS product data only. And EMA is responsible for maintaining this product data based on the outcome of the procedure. So every time there is a variation or there is a new marketing authorization application or renewal or a transfer, we are responsible for updating this data in our internal system. We also have xEVMPD, which is another database. In this case, xEVMPD contains authorized and development medicinal product data. It contains information about centrally authorized products, but also data for non-centrally authorized products, or all those products that are authorized via the DCPs, MRPs, and national procedures. In this case, the EMA holders are the ones responsible for maintaining this data, and EMA with their data stewards are validating this data, submitting, so we make sure that the data is accurate and is consistent with what has been authorized, and we check this information against the authorized SMPC. So once we have talked about the background, what's PMS, what's ISO IDMP, which are the other databases that we have internally and externally, we come to the main topic of this webinar, which is the data migration activities. What have we done to migrate the data that we already have into PMS? So which are the origin of the existing product data that we have in PMS? It's what we call the initial data load, because we have done an initial data load from different systems into PMS. First of all, as I have already explained, we have SIAMED 2, which is our internal database with centrally authorized product data. What we have done, first of all, is a data mapping exercise that I will explain later. And after this data mapping exercise, we have migrated into PMS all the CAP product data. This way, PMS already contains centrally authorized product data from last year, and it's already been used in different processes internally at EMA. So this is what we have done so far, migrating all this data that we have in SIAMED for centrally authorized products. We also have, as I explained before, xEVMPD. In this case, we have centrally authorized products and non-centrally authorized products in this database. So what we are going to do is, again, a data mapping exercise, and then we will migrate the data for non-caps. For caps, there is a different approach. What we need to do is what we call the match and merge protocol. We need to identify which are the centrally authorized products in xEVMPD, match them with the products that we have already migrated from SIAMED, and merge them into PMS. I will explain all this process later, so don't worry. So once we have done this migration from xEVMPD, PMS will contain centrally and non-centrally authorized product data from SIAMED and from xEVMPD. And this is happening this year. This way, this is an overview of which is what we call the initial load of data into PMS, data coming from two different databases, SIAMED and xEVMPD. Once we have done this initial data load from these two different databases, here you can see it's a summary, let's say, of the data model that I presented before. So this is a very small or a big summary of the data model. We have just identified the different sections that we have. We don't have here, obviously, all the fields as presented in the previous diagram. But it's a really useful diagram because here you can see from each of the sections where the data is coming from. So in yellow, you have the data coming from Article 57. So for example, you know that the pharmaceutical product data as well as the route of administration or its ingredients, it will come from Article 57, xEVMPD. In blue, you have the data that is coming from SIAMED. So, for example, the packaged medicinal product with the manufacturer item, the package container, orphan designation information. This information is coming from SIAMED. Then we also have fields without migrated information. That's because we don't have data nor in SIAMED, neither in xEVMPD. So those fields in the PMS data model will be blank. So for example, we are not capturing for the moment device information, all the shelf life and storage conditions. Those fields will be empty in PMS because in xEVMPD, we don't track this information, and we don't track this information either in SIAMED. And then obviously we have mix of sections where we can have data coming from Article 57, but other data will be missing. For example, the marketing authorization section or the therapeutic indication section. And we also have sections where we will have data from SIAMED, but other fields will be empty. For example, the manufacturer item or the package item container. So this is a summary of what the PMS data model will look like after we have migrated all the data that we have in SIAMED and all the data that we have also in xEVMPD. As I explained before, one of the first exercises that we have done in order to migrate the data from SIAMED and from xEVMPD into PMS is what we call the data mapping. So SIAMED and xEVMPD already contain data that can be mapped to terms that we already have in the other sport services that I explained before. So what we have done is an exercise to map those terms in both databases, so SIAMED and xEVMPD, to be migrated into PMS. An example is, for example, for substances, we have identified the different substances. In this case, I have ibuprofen, arginine. This is the identifier in EUTCT. And if you go to EUTCT, you search by an ingredient, you will have the identifier, and you will also have the information of those mappings. So you will see that one of the mappings is to xEVMPD, to this substance ID. So we have done this exercise for all the substances that we have in xEVMPD and in SIAMED. So we have been able to migrate this information into PMS. With the organizations, we have done also something similar. We have mapped all the organizations that we have in OMS to the xEVMPD codes that we have in xEVMPD. This information is accessible. You can check this in OMS. And we have also done something similar in SIAMED, which is our internal database. And with the referentials, we have done, again, a mapping exercise. Here, for example, I have an RMS ID for the term film coated tablets. If you go into RMS, there is a section that is called mappings, and you will be able to see to which EV codes and also to which terms in SIAMED this specific term has been mapped to. So once we have this mapping exercise, what we have achieved is to be able to map all the different terms that we have in xEVMPD and also all the terms that we have in SIAMED. We have mapped them to the different export services. So this is the basis to be able to migrate the data into PMS, because as I explained also before, we need to, and based on the chapter 2, we need to make reference to the RMS lists or to the org IDs or log IDs or to the SMS ID in PMS. So this way we have done this exercise and we have the data migrated correctly into PMS. Once we have done this mapping exercise, the next step, as I explained, is the migration, first of all, of the CAP data that we have in SIAMED. So how the products are displayed in SIAMED. In SIAMED 2, we always call it SIAMED only. So in SIAMED, a product is an umbrella that contains several medicinal products. And these medicinal products also contain multiple presentations. So for example, in this case, the umbrella product will be Sunosi with this procedure number. Under this umbrella product, we have two different medicinal products. The first one is the one with 150 milligrams film coated tablets. And if I select this one, I display all these different presentations that are authorized. We also have the one for the 75 milligrams film coated tablets, and under this medicinal product, we would have the respective presentations that are assigned to this medicinal product. So in SIAMED, we have this umbrella product. Below this umbrella product, we would have what correspond to the one medicinal product in PMS, or in this case, two different medicinal products in PMS. And we also have what would correspond to the packaged medicinal product in PMS. So we have just built a logic to migrate this information and how the data is displayed in SIAMED. We have built a logic to migrate this information into PMS. Right now, you can only see the data in PMS through the PLM portal, where also DADI it's located. The DADI variation form is located. So if you go into the system, you would be able to see that in PMS we have migrated two different medicinal products, the one for 150 and the other one for 75 milligrams, with all the information, the MA numbers, the holders, and we have also assigned the PMS ID already. So this is how we have migrated the data from SIAMED into PMS. Now, and this is, as you can see, it is already available in the PLM portal. So you can go and check if you have CAPS medicinal products. You can already check the data there. Now, the next step that we are working on is the migration of xEVMPD data into PMS. And we have said, okay, xEVMPD contains CAP data, but also non-CAPs. So let's focus first on the centrally authorized products. xEVMPD contains centrally authorized product data at presentation level, which means that we have one EV code per presentation, but we have 4 records per presentation. That's because we need, based on the xEVMPD guidance, we need, or applicants need to submit 4 different records for the EU country plus also the EEA country, so Liechtenstein, Norway, and Iceland, which means that we will have 4 records per presentation for a centrally authorized medicinal product in xEVMPD. We have decided to only migrate the EU records into PMS because the rest of the information would be duplicated information. So we have decided, okay, we are migrating only the EU records. And as I explained before, we need to do a match and merge protocol, which consists on the identification of. First of all, we need to identify a product that has been migrated to PMS from SIAMED. And there we will have also their respective presentations, as I explained in the previous slide. And then we need to identify the same presentation in xEVMPD and merge those records. So first of all, we match the presentations that we have in SIAMED and the presentations that we have in xEVMPD, and then we merge them. One practical example would be, if we take the example before, in PMS, we would have 2 different medicinal products coming from SIAMED. We would have Sunosi 150 milligram film coated tablet with these presentations. And in xEVMPD, we would have 1 record per each of those presentations. So what we have done is match those presentations that we have in xEVMPD with the ones that we have now in PMS coming from SIAMED, and we have merged those records. And the same would happen for the other medicinal product. As you can see, and I have highlighted here in red, in SIAMED, the name of the medicinal product is a concatenation of the invented name, the strength, and the dose form. But in xEVMPD, the authorized or the full name that we have is the one that has been authorized and is presented in section 1 of the SMPC. So you can see that there are some discrepancies in the name of the medicinal product in SIAMED and in xEVMPD, and we will talk later what is going to happen with those discrepancies. When we merge those products, so once we have found a record from SIAMED that is now in PMS, and we have matched it to the one in xEVMPD, we run several business rules that are already described and published in the Chapter 7 of the EUIG. It's the last table that you have at the end of the document with all the business rules, because we need to know where are we going to take the data from. So we have several examples. If I don't have the field in SIAMED, so I don't have the field in SIAMED, I don't have the field in xEVMPD, then the business rule is to leave this field empty. This is the example of the storage condition. So we don't have this field in SIAMED and we don't have this field in xEVMPD. So this field will be empty in PMS. If this field is present in SIAMED and we don't have it in xEVMPD, then the business rule is to keep the data migrated from SIAMED. One example are the manufacturers. So all the manufacturers' data that you will find in PMS is coming from SIAMED because we don't have this information in xEVMPD. If we have the case the other way around, we don't have a field in SIAMED, but we have the field in xEVMPD, then we migrate the data from xEVMPD. One example is the MEDRA codes. So we don't have MEDRA codes in SIAMED, but we have them in xEVMPD. So once we do the match and merge, the data will come from xEVMPD in the case of the MEDRA codes. And the last business case that we have is when we have the data coming from both systems. We have data in SIAMED, we have data in xEVMPD. We need to define and we need to decide per each of the fields which is going to be the source of the data. You can go to Chapter 7 of the EUIG. There you will find all the business rules and which are the different for each of the fields, which is the source of the data that we have identified. One example is, for example, the full name. We have a name in SIAMED, we have a name in xEVMPD, we have decided that the one coming from xEVMPD is the one that will survive. So at the moment, as we have only data migrated from SIAMED, you will only see data coming from SIAMED. But once we do the match and merge with the data from xEVMPD, the name of the product will be overwritten by the data that we have in xEVMPD. This is for caps. For non-caps, we have a different approach. We don't have to do any match and merge because we don't have data in SIAMED for non-caps. So in xEVMPD, the data that we have for non-caps is at presentation level. So we would have one EV code per presentation, or we can have data at medicinal product level. Which means that we don't have presentation submitted to xEVMPD, but we only have one record per medicinal product. That would depend on the country of authorization. There are countries that are giving the authorization number at the package level. So in xEVMPD, we will have records at the presentation level, and there are other countries that are giving the authorization number at the level of the medicinal product. So we will have the records at the medicinal product level. Moreover, we have some countries where we have more than one official language. So for example, we have Belgium, Finland, and Liechtenstein, where we have more than one official language. And as explained in the xEVMPD guidance, we need to submit one record per official language into xEVMPD. So for example, for Belgium, for each medicinal product or for each of the presentation, we will have 3 different records. So the business rule that we have defined in order to migrate the data for non-caps from xEVMPD into PMS is to group different records in xEVMPD based on the some fields that we have identified in xEVMPD. Those fields are the ones that you have here. So when we find more than one record in xEVMPD where the marketing authorization holder, the authorization country, the active substance or active substances, and its strengths, the authorized pharmaceutical dose form, and then depending on each of the cases, the product full name or the authorization number are the same, we merge them and we migrate them into into PMS, sorry. So maybe now it's too fast. We recommend you to read this again. This is also explained in chapter 7 of the EUIG. So please go there, read the chapter, and you will be able to realize which is the logic that we have implemented. But we are also providing you here some examples. So we have taken this example. We have one marketing authorization holder, the same marketing authorization holder, the same country of authorization. We have these 3 records in xEVMPD with the same substances. I have not exported the strength, but the strength is the same for the active substances. We have the same pharmaceutical dose form and the same full presentation name and the same authorization number. So based on the rules that we have defined before, in this case, we have 3 EV codes in xEVMPD. We have 1 per presentation, as you can see here. So in PMS, we will have 1 medicinal product with 3 different packaged medicinal products linked to this 1 medicinal product. Another example would be this EMA holder, these 3 records with the same EMA holder, the same authorization country, same substances and strengths, the same pharmaceutical dose form, different full presentation names, and different authorization numbers. So in this case, we have 3 EV codes in xEVMPD, 1 per product, because we have different names per record. So in PMS, we will have 3 medicinal products, and linked to each medicinal product, we will have 1 packaged medicinal product. All this information, again, is explained in Chapter 7 of the EUIG. So please go there. You will be able to have all the information to read it carefully. And in case you have any doubt, we are here to also solve any doubts that you can have. So we have, in PMS, we will have different medicinal products. We will have caps and we will have non-caps. For caps, the medicinal product will be created from the SIAMED logic that we have explained before. Each medicinal product will contain the presentations that we have in SIAMED, what we call in PMS the packaged medicinal product. And as I explained before, these are coming from SIAMED. Moreover, the packaged medicinal product and also the medicinal product, so the different sections that we have in the PMS data model, will be complemented with the xEVMPD data after the match and merge, which means that for caps, for centrally authorized products, we will have let's say, a more complete data model in PMS because we will have data coming from those two sources, from xEVMPD and from SIAMED. On the other hand, for non-caps, we have only data coming from xEVMPD. We have explained how the data and how the logic to migrate the data from xEVMPD is built. Depending then on the records that are submitted to xEVMPD, we will have packaged medicinal products generated under the respective medicinal products. We will have more or less packaged medicinal products depending on how applicants are submitting the data into xEVMPD. And obviously, only xEVMPD data can be found in those records because for non-caps, as I already explained, we don't have any information in SIAMED. This is one of the, this is an important slide that we have. We have already explained this in other webinars, and also the DADI team has already explained this situation. And it's a specific situation for a specific products that we have in SIAMED. So SIAMED, for some of the products that we have, is not following the IDMPS structure. What do we mean with that? So PMS defines a medicinal product based on the name as authorized in Section 1 of the SMPC. Nevertheless, SIAMED does not capture the full name as authorized in the SMPC. So as I explained before, SIAMED captures the name as a concatenation of the inventive name, strength, and pharmaceutical dose form. So this is not the authorized name as in the Section 1 of the SMPC. That situation leads to a case where in SIAMED 2, we have only one medicinal product, but in PMS, we should create more than one medicinal product based on this rule that we have defined here, that a medicinal product is defined, but the name as authorized in the SMPC. So what we have done to solve this issue is to implement a logic to split these products before the match and merge protocol. So before we import the data from xEVMPD, we have built a logic to split those products. Once we have splitted those products with the different presentations under each of the medicinal product, then we will be able to do the match and merge of the data from xEVMPD. We have already advised this before, but I'm also pointing this issue here. We advise you not to use those products for to create DADI variation forms. We recommend you to still use the PDF EAF, because this way we would avoid issues when we split the products. So if we don't have any variation that is ongoing for those products, we would avoid all the issues that we can have. So once we have done the split, you will be free to use those those products and use the data variation form for all those products. I'm bringing here one example so you can understand better, and also for you to be able to identify if you have any product on your company that might be affected by this situation. So if we focus on the left side of the table, here we have two medicinal products that are following the SIAMED structure. So in this case, we have the invented name, which is Aimovig, the strength 70 milligrams, and the dose form, which is solution for injection. And the other one would be Aimovig 140 milligrams solution for injection. Each of them with their respective presentations. So in this case, we have two products, each of them with three presentations. So right now, what we have in PMS is two products, each of them with three different presentations. And you can go into the PLM portal, the data portal, and you will be able to see that you only have these two medicinal products. If we go to the SMPC of those medicinal products, we will be able to see that we have two different names for this specific product, let's say. We have Aimovig 70 milligrams solution for injection in prefill pen with two different presentations, but we also have another name, which is Aimovig 70 milligrams solution for injection in prefill syringe, which has one presentation under this medicinal product. So here you can see that we need to split this product that we have right now in PMS, coming from SIAMED, into two different medicinal products in PMS, and we need to assign the respective presentations under each of the medicinal products that we will create in PMS. That would be the same in for this medicinal product, Aimovig 140 milligrams. We have the one in prefill pen, and we also have the one in prefill syringe. So what's the discrepancy? We have now two products with each of them with three presentations. And once we have done the split, we will have four products, each of them with a different number of presentations depending on which presentation belongs to each of the medicinal products. So as a general rule, if for the same strength and dose form, you have different names authorized in the SMPC, then this product will have to be split in PMS. We have identified that only from the total amount of products that we have in SIAMED, it's a really little percentage of products that are impacted. Most of them are the ones with prefill pens and prefill syringes in the authorized name in the SMPC. So if you have products that are tablets, that are vials and things like that, you mostly don't need to worry about that because there won't be any issue with those products. It's mostly the ones with prefill pen and prefill syringes in the name. But if you have any doubt, please contact us. We will be happy to support you. But I think with this explanation that we have provided here, it's quite clear that we will have that you might be able to know which are the products that are impacted. But anyway, we are here to support you. So in any case, feel free to ask. One of the last parts of the presentation, and I think we will be able to finish before, so we will be able also to reply to more of your questions. Obviously, we will always have data quality issues. We can have data quality issues in SIAMED. We can have data quality issues in xEVMPD. We have already identified data quality issues in different products, and this will impact how the products are going to be migrated into PMS. You will be able to see also those data quality issues through the PLM portal. So how can you solve, or how can you notify us that there is a data quality issue in any of your products? So if you foresee that the data quality issue is coming from SIAMED, you are requested to submit to us a ticket through the EMA service now. Here you have a link, but I foresee that everybody or most of you already have access to the system. we ask you to please report an issue, open a ticket issue for SPOR and for PMS, explaining. If you can provide it as many details as possible, please, that would really help us to identify the product, identify the root cause and everything. So please let us know in the ticket everything that you think it's a data quality issue. Then data quality issues can also come from xEVMPD. In this case, you will be able to make the change directly in xEVMPD. xEVMPD and PMS will be synchronized. So every change that you do in xEVMPD will be synchronized with PMS. So if there is, for example, a data quality issue in the name of the medicinal product, you can change it and it will be automatically synchronized with PMS. We have here a section of data quality issues. There is also several examples and several places in chapter 7 of the EUIG where we talk about the data quality issues, because this will have an impact on how the data is migrated into PMS. I will provide you with two examples. Here we have this example where in xEVMPD, for the same medicinal product, so these are different presentations of the same medicinal product, we have differences in the name. So here you can see that pre-filled syringe doesn't contain a hyphen here, but for other presentations we have it. In this case, we have different presentations of the same medicinal product in xEVMPD with different names, which means that in PMS, we will have two different medicinal products, because one of the grouping elements that we are taking from xEVMPD to migrate the data into PMS, it's the full name of the medicinal product. So if I have all the data is the same, but the medicinal product contains different names, these are going to be migrated as two different medicinal products. So if at some point you go into PMS, or you will be able to see the data through the PLM portal, you will see that, okay, you have two different medicinal products where it should be one. Please check your data in xEVMPD. If you identify, for example, this case that you have this data quality issue, you can amend, for example, these three records, and automatically we will amend the data in PMS. So we have built a logic to be able to identify, okay, this has been done, this has been corrected, so now these three records should belong to this medicinal product that is already created in PMS. Another example is when we do the match and merge from SIAMED and xEVMPD, we have two medicinal products. As I explained before, the identification or the match is done at the presentation level. So for product one, I can perfectly match the 4 different presentations. So I will do the merge. I will complement the data that I have in SIAMED with the data that is coming from xEVMPD, and there will be no problem. But for product 2, I can match 2 different presentations, but I have an issue with the third one because I am not able to match this presentation. So what is going to happen is that this product 2 will have a duplicate in PMS for this presentation, because as I am not able to match it, then I will generate a new medicinal product in xEVMPD. So you will be able to check the data. You can also contact us if you don't understand why you have missing, for example, presentations that are missing in PMS, why you don't have them. We will be able to identify which are the issues. Our plan is also to be able to release a bit of a guidance on how you can identify those data quality issues, which are the steps that you need to follow before you reach out to us, because maybe you can identify the issue, and in this case, you just need to come back to xEVMPD, amend the error that you have, and then the synchronization will be execute it, and you will have the information correctly displayed in PMS. So, coming to the end of the presentation for the migration, as a summary, first of all, the data that we have in SIAMED has already been migrated into PMS. It is already available in PMS, and you can see the information in the PLM portal. Please be aware that you are able to see only a specific field, so you can see the name as it is in PMS, which is the one that we have in SIAMED, authorized dose form, active substance, strength. I think you can see also the pharmaceutical dose form. You have the PMS ID and the MPID, the MA holder. So you are not able to see all the data that we have migrated. Both the DADI team and us, we are working to give you the capability to view all this information. But for the moment, please be aware that you are able to see only specific fields, which is already a lot of information, because you can see if your products migrated from SIAMED are there, if there is anything that has not been migrated correctly. So it's something that you can already start checking. Then again, and this is important, some of the CAPS products will be splitted to be IDMP compliant. We have explained this before. This will have an impact on the DADI variation form, so please don't use those products for the moment. We will notify you when you are able to use these products without any issue. Once we have done also this split, then we will have the xEVMPD data migrated into PMS. For CAPS, there will be this match and merge protocol to complete the products that already exist in PMS. And for non-CAPS, there are several grouping rules that we have implemented. And depending on the country or the MA holder, these business rules are changing, but you will have all the information that you have in xEVMPD will also be available in PMS. So all these different steps except the first one, so the first one is already done, the data is in PMS. The split of products and the migration of data from xEVMPD will take place by the end of this quarter. Then we need to work with the DADI team so they can release this data, and you are able to see this data in the PLM portal. When are we going to do that? We will give you more information, because we still need to work with them on the timelines when this is going to happen. But please be aware that we will give you all the information. You will be updated, and you will know when there is going to happen this data release. That again is going to happen first on PMS. You won't be able to see it because you don't have access to PMS, and then it will happen on the DADI side. And again, an important message, data quality issues, they will happen. It's unfortunately, it is what it is. What we are trying to do also with PMS and with all the business processes that we are building around PMS is to try to reduce to the minimum the data quality issues that we will have in the future. But as of now, how the business processes are in SIAMED and in xEVMPD, it can happen that we have data quality issues, and this can lead to the generation of wrong or incomplete products in PMS. But again, we have implemented business rules and business logic, so whenever there is a remediation of this data quality issue, all the information can be correctly imported into PMS. So just for you to be aware, there is a lot of things happening on the PMS side, on the sports side, also on DADI. They also have their own webinars where they explain everything that they are doing. So we thought, okay, it's important for you to be updated, to know what is happening, which are the webinars that we are going to have, where are we going to explain where. So here we have tried to summarize how to stay updated on all the PMS topics. For you to know, you can already book your calendars. On the 22nd of March, we will have the system demo. You know that we are now working on Agile. So every 3 months, every quarter, we have a system demo where we show what we have been working on during this quarter. The idea is that you can see and we discuss which are the latest development that we have done in the system. And it's important for us because you can provide us with your feedback on what do you like from the system that you are seeing, which are the improvements that you might like to see. So we are able to prioritize also the feedback that we are receiving. So from PMS side, we will be able to see, to show all those things on the PMS work that we have done, migration things, deltas, more information about that. And we will also be showing you the product UI that we are developing. So we are really looking forward to show you this information on the system demo. Then we have also created what we call the Sport Webinars Week. We have booked a week in April, so from the 17th to the 20th, where each of the sport services we will have a specific webinar. So substances, product, organization references, and xEVMPD as well. We will have different webinars. You have the list of events here in this link. We will share the slides. So if you are interested, please join the webinars. There will be also a Slido available. You can provide your comments, your questions, etc. And we will be holding as well a PMS Progress webinar. We don't know yet when. We need to find a date, but it will happen next quarter. And we will be able to provide you more information about the progress, what we have done, what we are going to do, what we are going to deliver, etc. Then we have the PLM Portal Forum. You have the link here. You can register. You can see the news that we have, the release notes, the downtime communication. So the PLM Portal is where we have the data variation form, where the product UI will be located, where the EPI will be located as well. So if you want to be informed with all the news, release notes, etc., you can register here on the link. We also have the PMS webpage where you have the link here. You can check the different chapters of the UIG, chapter 2, chapter 7. All the different chapters are there. Yeah. So if you have time to read them, we really encourage you to read all the information that we have there. And then we also have the EAF and PMS newsletter. Here is where we release every quarter the relevant updates that we have on EAF, the DADI project, and also on PMS. So I think we have tried to summarize here all the information that we have, so you can have access to the updated information. You are updated on what we are doing. And yeah, any question that you have now a Slido. You also have the ServiceNow portal, so you can go there, ask questions to us, and we will try to reply in the best way possible. So I think, Katerina, we can go to the Slido. So here you can have the link, the QR code if you want to use it. And yeah, I think we can proceed with the questions that we have from the participants.
Okay, thank you. So I will share my screen now. Okay, can you see?
Yes.
Okay, so let's start from the most voted question. So Jack Daly asked, what is the EMA target date for the xEVMPD retirement, or is its retirement no longer part of a plan?
Okay, so yes, the idea is that at some point xEVMPD, and we don't call it retirement, what we call is xEVMPD decommission. The idea and one of the goals of EMA is to decommission xEVMPD, but to decommission xEVMPD, there are a lot of things that we need to release before. As you know, xEVMPD not only contains authorized medicinal product data, but also contains development medicinal products. So if we want to decommission xEVMPD, we also need to work on the development products and provide the users another way to to be able to submit the data for those products. So we have this webinar that I have announced on the progresses that we are doing. So the first thing that we try to do is to decommission xEVMPD submissions for authorized medicinal products. And we will give more information on that. For the moment, it is not possible. xEVMPD has to be the way that applicants submit the data for their authorized medicinal products. But yes, there is a goal at some point to decommission xEVMPD. But as I said, not for the moment, because technically it's not possible.
Okay, so next question. Will the validation of the migrated data happen at EMA, or do VMAHs have to review the migrated data?
Okay. So there is no real the need to really validate the migrated data. You really, we encourage you to go once we provide you with the capability to see all the data model and all the fields that we have migrated. The idea is that you can go and check that the data that has been migrated is accurate and is correct. And in case there is any discrepancy, we have already explained the different channels. You can use EMA service now, or you can use xEVMPD. But we have already put in place artifacts to check, okay, the data that we have migrated is correctly mapped, okay, and but we are not validating the data that it's migrated. We have already done this exercise for mappings, etc., and also UATs for migrated data, etc., etc. So there is no validation at itself as for the migrated data.
Okay, thank you. Then next question. What is the EMA target date for SPOR PMS to ingest data from the web-based DAF form?
Okay. That is also a question that we will try to reply on the PMS progress webinar. In theory, this webinar is for the migration and all the doubts that you can have. I already know that there is a lot of interest on those timelines. The thing is, we will provide more information on that in this webinar. We really appreciate those questions because it provides us with the feedback that we can incorporate them on for those webinars. But we also need to discuss with the DADI team when they will be able to have all the information in the DADI variation form. There are other technical components that we need to develop to be able to ingest the data from the DADI variation form. So unfortunately, I cannot give you an accurate answer for this because we are still discussing the timelines for this aspect. So for the moment, data to PMS can only be submitted through xEVMPD and through SIAMED.
Okay.
Marcos, maybe just to add to that from my side, yes. Indeed, completely. I think it's indeed clear that we're looking at that some of the longer term timelines are still unclear, but maybe also to just reassure everyone on this call that the reason we're doing that is the need to ensure that we have things ready for when we do transition and we do make those changes, that we have the necessary pieces in place, and we're going to build up towards that, and that we won't jump things on people. So there will be transition periods. When it happens, we will announce it in advance. So it will certainly not be that when it happens, it's going to happen from one day to the next.
Yeah,
and that's for anything related to planning and the timeline.
Yes.
Okay. Then next question. It's again on planning. So what is the EMA target date for industry to be provided an interface to SPOR PMS in the PLM portal?
Okay, so hopefully soon. As I explained in one of the last slides, in the system demo, we will show you what we are working on to be able to provide you with an interface to see SPOR PMS in the PLM portal. So we are working on that. We will show you what we have developed so far. we are discussing, because as you know, we work in Agile now, so we are able to deliver things before. We don't have to wait until the end to deliver the full product, in this case, the product user interface. So we are discussing when would be the best time to release a small part of the product user interface so users can start using the product user interface to check the data that we have migrated, all the products that we have migrated and everything. So we don't have the official date yet, but bear with us because we are working very hard on this. You will be able to see what we are doing on the system demo. And hopefully next quarter, we can give you more information on timelines on when we will be able to deliver this user interface.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Who will and when the empty field would be populated?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. There are a lot of fields that are empty, as I explained before, but it's not only fields. So for example, for non-caps, for a lot of products, we also have the missing packages, because how the data is provided in xEVMPD, we only have the information of the medicinal product. But for non-caps, we don't have the full list of packages. So then applicants will have to submit this information. So this is what we call the enrichments. People will have to provide all the missing data that we have now, that we don't have now in PMS. And again, this in theory will have to be submitted by the applicants, but we don't know yet when. We need to have the capability so you can access the system and you can provide this information. We can also verify and validate that the data that you are submitting is IDMP compliant. So we are working on those different steps to give you the capability to provide all this missing information. But all the discussions that we have had so far is that applicants are responsible for submitting this data. At least so far, this is the agreement that we have.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Once PMS is operational, is it envisaged that MAHs will need a system to update PMS? Or will it still be possible to update PMS in a similar way that xEVMPD is updated via the Authorised website?
Yes. So obviously, we are developing this, what we call the product user interface, which is a user interface to access PMS, so people can access the data, can make changes to the data, export data, can do a lot of things. But obviously, we also need, and this is what would be similar to a Vigilance website, it's a user interface, but we are also working on the API connection. So the system-to-system, the machine-to-machine connection. So companies that are able to connect to the PMS API through their systems, they can also do it. So we will have both possibilities because we need to provide both possibilities to industry and also to NCAs that will be able to connect to our system through the API or through the user interface.
Thank you. Okay, next question. What is the EMA target date for the IDMP go live?
So we are already go live with IDMP. PMS is has gone live last year with CAP data. I think that question might not be, maybe it's not correctly formulated. If the question is when PMS will be fully functional, then I don't have the answer for that. We are working really hard on having the timelines and all the different dependencies that we have with different systems. But yeah, PMS is go live already with CAP data. We have this, PMS is already IDMP compliant. So IDMP, we can say it's also live. So that is, for the moment, what I can reply to this question.
Okay, thank you. Next one. For Belgium authorized products in xEVMPD, BIG's Chapter 7 states a grouping by EMA number is performed. However, there are different EMA numbers in case of different packaging types are registered. Is EMA aware of this scenario?
I think we are, because I think we have taken into account all the different scenarios. So yes, nevertheless, I will check, but I would say that yes, we are aware of this specific case. I would need to think now on, have a look of products, etc. But I would say that we have already taken this scenario into account. But thank you anyway for the heads up. We will check it anyway.
Okay, thank you. Then, how long will this transition period be once POR PMS is released for industry to allow for data enriching, cleansing?
Yeah. So first of all, we need to agree on when this transition period will start. We also need to agree how long this transition period is going to last. Luckily, we already have the SMEs that are working with us, so representing industry and NCAs. So we will be able to have this discussion with them. They will be able to provide us with the feedback like, okay, industry would need this amount of time during the transition period. NCAs, maybe they don't need this transition period, but they need a transition period for maybe other stuff. So we cannot tell you how long it is going to be, but for sure we will involve the SMEs in this discussion. So we are sure that we are taking all the concerns and everybody's voice on this topic. And obviously we will provide you with this information as soon as we have it. So we are working really hard on the timelines and on the dependencies on different products along the value stream. So unfortunately, I cannot provide you more information on that.
Okay, thank you. Next one. Will there be an easy way to extract PMS data to verify and potentially clean the data before any variation is submitted via the PLM EAF portal for both CAPs and NAPs based on both SIAMED and xEVMPD?
We hope it's an easy one. So what we are implementing in the product UI is a capability to export the products, the list of products that we have. And we also want to implement some kind of extraction routine to be able to export the information in different ways. So hopefully we will have it. We have already thought about that, how industry and NCAs would like to, in case they want to extract the information that we have in PMS. So we are working on that, and hopefully it will be easy and useful for you. So yeah, the answer is yes.
Okay, thank you. Next one. What is the involvement of NCAs to map migrated data to PMS with their local databases for non-CAPs?
So in theory, we have not involved as such, as far as I know, NCAs on the mapping exercise, because if they want to connect or integrate somehow their local databases with PMS, what they need to do is map their internal databases with the terms that we already have in the different sport services. So, for example, Spanish NCA will have to take all their fields for the dosage forms, and they will have to say, okay, I will map those terms that I have in my internal database to those RMS IDs that EMA has on RMS. The same with substances, the same with organizations. So we have not involved NCAs on this exercise. What we have done is we are responsible for SIAMED, so we have done the mapping, and we somehow are responsible also for xEVMPD. So we have also mapped those terms, but we have not mapped NCA's terms on their databases to any sport service. So yeah, that's the answer I think for this question.
Okay, thank you. Next question, is PMS going to be the basis of EPIL or will be linked to EPIL?
So I'm not the EPI product owner. I wouldn't have time to be, so unfortunately, I cannot really reply to this question. I think you should ask this question to the EPI product owner. Somehow there will be linked because we are having conversations. EPI will be located also on the PLM portal. I think somehow they will link the EPIs to the PMS IDs. But EPI is in a very premature state. So we are not really discussing like how PMS data is going to be used in EPI. This conversation will happen in the future for sure. But for the moment, I'm not aware of the real impact of PMS on EPI. And if so, I think this question should be raised to the EPI team, the product owners.
Okay, thank you. Then, has the PMS API already been shared by EMA? And if not, when could we count on this?
Yes. So we are, it has not been shared by EMA with anybody, not even NCAs. It was one of the objectives that we said that we might work on during this quarter. But as we are going live with the xEVMPD data and there is a lot of work this quarter, we have not been able to work on that as much as we wanted. So the idea is that during next quarter, we will start working on the PMS API, the read capability. So we will be in a position to give access to NCA's industry, the network, as soon as possible, at least to the read API. But for the moment, we have not shared anything with anybody outside EMA.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Is the xEVMPD data migrated to PMS always the version QC'd by EMA?
Okay, that's a very good question, and I'm so sorry. I will update the slides because I forgot to include this information. So what we are taking from xEVMPD is the last not nullified version of a product, which means, so we are not migrating nullified products. And for the products that are not nullified, we are migrating the last version that is in xEVMPD. That means that it can be a version that has been QC'd by EMA or a version that has not been QC'd by EMA. So you know that when you send the data to xEVMPD, there is a process of validation. We validate each and every new product that is submitted to xEVMPD, but we are not able to validate each and every update. So what we do is try to validate as many updates as possible, but it's impossible to validate all of them. So what we are going to do is migrate the last version. It can be the QC'd one or it can be the non-QC'd one. And also, as you know, and we can go to the next question, how frequently data is synchronized from xEVMPD to PMS. The synchronization is going to happen in a daily basis. So we will have, every time there is a change in xEVMPD, it will be sent to PMS. There will be a queue. So first message that arrives is the first that was going to be processed. So these updates can be updates that you send to xEVMPD, but also if there is a validation performed by EMA data stewards, if there is a change on the data due to a validation activity, this will also be sent to PMS. So yeah, mixing both questions. it's this version, and also the data is going to be synchronized. Every day there will be a queue, so we hope every day we will be able to have the updates from xEVMPD into PMS, but if the queue is really long, then we might have delays. It's important for you to understand that there might be delays, that maybe you need to wait for a couple of hours or one day to see the data updated in PMS. And our plan, obviously, is to improve this performance so the updates can be done in real time.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Is a list of PMS fields available that will be used in web-based DAF?
I don't know.
And
Marcus,
I can
yes, please.
question. So, colleagues, you can have access to the electronic application form webpage. There are a few information that have been published in there, and most importantly, as part of the Q&A documentation. But bear in mind that most importantly for you to know is that the DADI team for now is using a very limited set of PMS data fields, which you can find there, and also the requirements are fully documented in their website. So you can directly go and open the link that I have included in my reply. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Veronica.
Thank you. Okay, next question. Will EMA keep the xEVMPD to SPOR SMS and EU SRS mapping up to date as substance data cleansing is still ongoing?
Yes, this is something that Pedro is doing. So the SMS product owner is doing together with the substance validation group. They are working on this cleansing of substances. As you already know, you cannot longer submit substances to xEVMPD directly. You have to go through SMS. So we have, let's say, like closed the circle, and those substances will still be updated, and the mappings will continue as the data cleansing activities are performed. Because every time there is the data cleansing activities, xEVMPD might be updated because substances can be nullified and included the new ones. So this is a work that Pedro is doing.
Okay, thank you. Next one. Does the substance mapping derives from the substance cleaning by the substance validation group? Were some assumptions made for substances records which potentially not yet validated in EU SRS at the time of migration to PMS?
So I think that is related also to the previous question. So yeah, it's the substance validation group has been doing these cleansing activities. They continue doing this. So yeah, all this work is related. So the mapping with xEVMPD is also done with the substance validation group that are cleaning the substances. And as they continue with these validations, the mappings will continue. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Next one. When can industry expect to have definitive data in SMS? Will be mandatory to use names from SMS in SMPC dossier?
So thank you for the question. I don't see any PMS acronym here. So I think this question should be raised to SMS, because unfortunately I don't have any information on this point. So I would suggest you can raise a question through ServiceNow. There is a section for open a new question. You can select SMS, and I would say that you can include this person. You can send this person to the SMS team, because I don't have any answer for this question. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Next one. Will we be able to view all the migrated product information in PMS before go live?
No. sorry. So the short answer is no. So for example, when we migrated the data from SIAMED for CAPS, it was released and now it's available in the PLM portal. But we didn't make the data available. It went directly to production. So the same will happen with the data in xEVMPD. Obviously, if you don't want to use this data those products for the moment because you want to review the data that has been migrated before you start using, for example, the application form for non-CAPS, etc., you can still do it. So the answer is no. We want, let's say, provide the data migrated before the go live. Actually, because PMS is already live, we have the CAPS. So yeah, we will follow the same approach with non-CAPS.
Okay, thank you. Next one. When can we expect the V2.2 of implementation guide to be published, and what changes can we expect?
Yeah. So we have tried to stop calling the implementation guide version 2.2 or 2.1 or 2.1.1 or things like that because we have realized that every chapter will have its life cycle. So for example, for chapter 2, we are already in 2.1.1, but chapter 7 now is version 2. So I think, well, we don't call it this way anymore. So now what we are doing is just delivering chapters as we think there is a major release that we need to do. So for example, we have done the release of chapter 7. I don't know if we need to make any update on chapter 2. We will update chapter 1 for the user roles and the access management. So yeah, we are releasing versions of the chapters as we see this happen. So for the moment, we don't foresee any delivery of any new chapter for the moment, at least not any major release. We might have the one for chapter 1 for the access management once we have more information about the product user interface, how to request the roles. This might be the next chapter that we will update.
Okay. Okay, I think we can take a few more questions. How can NCAs map the local data if the PMS data is not filled by them, but by the applicants? Will we not have many data validation issues during procedures if the data is not mapped by local NCAs?
Well, I think here we have maybe a misunderstanding of what mapping data is. But I think I can understand the question. So the issue that you might face is that the data that we have in xEVMPD is not the same as the data you have in your national databases. We have on our SMEs representation on NCAs, and we will also have a SME that will represent all the NCAs. The idea is to work with them because we want to involve the NCAs on the final business process. We want to understand how NCAs are going to use the data, which is the involvement of NCAs in all this business process. And we will try to solve all these questions that you have here. So we have already identified those questions, and we really want to give an answer by involving them on those discussions. So for the moment, we don't have an answer to this question, but we will be working with them. Luckily, we already have them in place. So we will be working with them to try to solve those questions.
Thank you. So we have 3 minutes left now. Do you want answer to one last question. Then I leave the floor to you and Veronica for the closing.
I think we can close because if we have to launch the poll.
I launch the poll.
All the questions that we have not. So I think, Katerina, you she's going to launch a poll now. If you can please provide your feedback here.
Yeah, and you will also find an open text box, so where you can leave your main feedbacks about the session.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add that we will consider. I mean, there are several questions that we have not been able to reply. So, I mean, thank you for all the questions that you have provided to us. We will consider all the questions that we have not replied for input for future communications, future trainings, and yeah, we are also preparing updates on Q&A documents, so we might use this feedback that we have received from you to update documentation, etc. So, yeah, I don't know if...
So, while I'm responding, results should show. I remind you, if you have left Slido, you can access again to answer the poll with the QR code or joining slido.com and inserting the code here below. Okay, so yes, you are responding. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. Marcos, Veronica, if you want to do closing.
Okay, so yeah, thank you everybody, and we see you around in the next webinars and meetings that we have.